Okay, now I want to set up this scene a little bit before we start creating interactions in it. So let's just duplicate this grass tile. Can just hit Control D or Command D depending on your platform, and that's going to duplicate this object, and then you can move it around. Now to make it line up perfectly, you can use the snapping tool, snapping function rather, in Unity, where if you press down, if you hold down V and just click on one edge of the tile and then move it, as you can see, it automatically snaps and connects properly into the other tile, right? So again, it's hold down V and then it's gonna try to find the right point for it to snap to. So that's very handy, and let's just keep sort of multiplying these tiles. Again, V, hold down V, snap it. I'm gonna select more of these. V. Okay, so I got quite a few of these now. I'm gonna reset the position for a second. Actually, no, that's not a good idea. So okay, anyways, so these are my, I think that's gonna be my floor. And what I want to do now is select them all, sort of positioned into the right position, and I want to put them all into one object. I want to group them into one parent object. So I'm going to call this parent object floor. And I don't know if you noticed what I just did. I pressed down Command Shift N on the Mac, or you can go to Object, Create Empty, and that will create an empty object. And then you can just rename this floor. Let's get rid of one of these. And I'm going to reset the position to 0, 0, 0, and put the grass tiles into this object. I'm also going to just change the Y position on these tiles so they match the floor Y position, just so that I'm centering things correctly. Okay, now I want to add a collider to all the tiles, and instead of having individual colliders, I'm just going to add it to this floor object which contains all the tiles. So we go to Add Component, Physics 2D, and Box Collider. And as you can see, the box collider doesn't quite fit properly with the tiles because in this object there's no mesh data. It doesn't know the shape of the other objects, right? It doesn't know the shape of the tiles, so we kind of have to manually change the box collider, which is fine. It's not a problem. If we just hold down Shift, you can see that all of a sudden we have these points that we can drag and control the collider on this object. So let's just kind of move these colliders. Accidentally moving the object. Okay, now the collider fits the tiles. Okay, great. Now the player object also needs a collider and a rigid body. Alright, so we're just gonna add a box collider, and you can see that the box collider fits the character well because it's got the sprite renderer component, so it knows how big the box should be. And then we want to add a rigid body 2D. Make sure that these are 2D colliders and 2D rigid body because we're working in 2D environment and we want to use the right physics engine for it. Right, so rigid body 2D, and we want to fix angles so that Actually, let's try without, and then I'll show you what happens. Okay, so let's just play the game. Can you notice that something is a little bit funky here? Looks like gravity isn't working properly, and the reason for that is because it actually has nothing to do with gravity. It's because we have the apply root motion checked here, and when you have the apply root motion option checked in the animator, it's going to try to position your character based on the animation. So usually you want this unchecked for 2D animations, just so that we can control the characters using scripts or Playmaker or some other tools that we want to have a better control over the motion of the character instead of having it be determined by the animation. So uncheck that, and then let's try that again. Right, now we see that the physics works. Right, gravity works. Okay, great.